Today on the Morning Edition, in our continuing coverage of property tax assessment values spiking throughout Anchorage, we'll break down average increases and what homeowners are saying they believe is behind the rate increases. Plus, day 2 of the Alaska legislative session wrapped up, and Governor Dunleavy is floating a seasonal statewide sales tax. We'll break down what that means and how it could affect you. And later, a middle school teacher is leaving their school to join the U.S. Navy, but his students didn't let him go without a proper send-off, ensuring that he knows that he's their hero and how much they love and support him on his new path in life. We'll find out the whole story as the Morning Edition starts now. Good Thursday morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us today. Did you ever have a teacher that was a hero to you as a kid?
Oh, yes.
You want to think about it? We'll talk about it later.
I will have to think about that. All my teachers have been heroes in my life.
Yes,
but I'm
for
trying
sure.
to think if there is one. I just have to think about it. That has just been really sentimental in my life when it comes to the changes that I've made in education and whatnot.
All right, we'll revisit that. But what's going on weather-wise?
Well, we are still holding on to some localized areas of freezing fog across South Central. You may find yourself as that sun rises later today, seeing some of that ice glistening on the trees. That is that rime ice that formed through the overnight hours, thanks in large part to that freezing fog. Now, hoarfrost, which we tend to see during this time of year as well, that occurs when we see those clear nights with that dew that does freeze on the vegetation through the overnight hours. But the trees that you're dealing with this morning, as that sun rises, that's going to be coated in ice. That is that rime ice from that freezing fog. 14 degrees is where we're currently sitting at. Not too bad of a start to your morning, and we're still holding on to those daily highs, easily climbing into the 20s. We've got single digits, teens, and 20s across South Central, even out towards Seward. The big winner here in terms of the warmth, 33 degrees. Seward may actually climb into the mid to upper 40s later today, and then 2 below as you head into the Copper River Basin out towards Golcana. So just be mindful on the roadways this morning. Give yourself plenty of distance if you if you do encounter some of that freezing fog across parts of South Central. And of course, you want to just be mindful of any untreated surfaces on the roads, which could have refroze through the overnight hours. So we're just keeping it in the yellow category for that commute forecast this morning with those temperatures sitting in the teens. We will climb into the low to mid 20s for inland areas. But as that sun sets, we are going to quickly drop back into the teens through the overnight hours. So this overall fairly quiet weather pattern we've been situated up under this week, that continues. We'll call it mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies. Active weather, though, moving into the northern Pacific Ocean. And, of course, as you head out towards western parts of the Aleutians, where we've been holding on to some gusty conditions. And while we are on the quiet side today, we will begin to see some increasing snow spreading across South Central as we welcome in next week. We'll also see some snow returning to parts of the slope with some areas of fog continuing for Southeast and South Central. I'll have more on that in that 7-day forecast coming up.
This morning, we're continuing with our coverage on how many Anchorage homeowners are looking at a spike in property valuations. Joe Allgood talked to homeowners in a few neighborhoods to see how they react to the increase in this morning's top story.
It was an increase over the last couple years, but it did dip last year, and it seemed to have come back up this year.
John Jackson said his valuation went up like a lot of other Anchorage homeowners.
$10,000 from last year.
Jackson's neighbors said their assessment has gone up an average of $30,000 each year since 2020, so they weren't too surprised to see the increase.
$40,000, $30,000, $30,000 or $20,000, and it stayed the same from on 2020 to 21. It was the same.
One couple we spoke to in another part of town even saw a decrease. Overall, Jackson said his neighborhood has remained stable, but he wouldn't mind seeing that change.
I wouldn't mind a younger family moving in here with kids and, being in a good neighborhood and us downsizing. But just like you were saying, it's all relative, right?
But a combination of factors like paid-off mortgages, locked-in low interest rates, and rising property values make that challenging.
That's why I think a lot of people are just holding on to their homes, like a lot of parts of the nation now, A lot of people aren't selling.
Whether or not there is an increase in property taxes, Jackson said maybe the municipality of Anchorage is too reliant on them.
I do feel that a lot of people are just getting tired of throwing their money in the hat, so to speak, without having a choice over it. And what are they getting out of it is, I guess, the bottom line.
Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
On average, assessed home values rose by 4.3% this year, according to officials with the municipality. We'll continue to follow this story and get you those updates. The owner of Alcan Medical Group was back in a Fairbanks courtroom Wednesday, facing even more felony charges. Casey Blood remains in custody, accused of sexually abusing 2 minors. His preliminary hearing, which is set for today, has been delayed for a second time. The reason for the court's decision to postpone is unclear. Meanwhile, Blood's Alcan Medical Clinic is still scheduled to close on January 31st. A family tragedy in Fairbanks. Police say a young man has killed his own grandmother inside her home. It's a case raising serious questions about mental health and what warning signs may have been missed. Johnson Kuhn has those details.
Fairbanks police say 29-year-old Brian Davenport fatally shot his 87-year-old grandmother Velma Coons at her Fairbanks home on 22nd Avenue Tuesday. Officers found Davenport outside the home behaving erratically and transported him to the Fairbanks Memorial Hospital, where he was placed on a mental health hold. Less than an hour later, authorities received a separate report of gunshots fired from the same location. When police arrived, they found Coons dead in her home. Officers say she was still seated in her wheelchair with a fatal gunshot wound to the back of her head. Investigators learned that Coons was under hospice care and had been diagnosed with intestinal cancer. Coons' son, George Coons, was in court today saying Davenport has a history of not taking his medications, encouraging the state to not release him.
He's a danger to the public. Obviously, he assaulted his mother last summer, and now my mother.
We've included the full charging doc on our website and mobile app. This case remains under investigation, and we'll bring you updates as we receive them. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's news source.
Animals and pets are a big part of many of our lives, and some people think some laws regarding neglect simply don't do enough. As Lauren Maxwell reports, there's a new push in Anchorage to make them stronger.
One of the proposals would give animal control officers and police new enforcement powers, making it illegal to leave animals unattended in a vehicle for more than 8 hours at a time.
Folks that are basically housing animals in vehicles for extended periods of time has been a big concern of the community. So what we want to do is limit that down to 8 hours, where the owner would have to go out to the car, relieve the animal, let it out of the car.
Some Anchorage residents say they would support that change.
I've got a short-haired dog, and I don't leave him in the car for more than about half an hour, regardless of the time of the year. I think that's just wrong for animals.
But on its face, it sounds reasonable. 8 hours to report. It seems like that. I wouldn't leave my dog for more than 30 minutes, so I can't imagine 8 hours. That seems a long time.
But some also raise concerns about how the law would be enforced.
And how would you know that? How would you be able to prove that? And every circumstance is different with everybody, so it'd just be kind of hard to tell what's right and wrong.
The Anchorage Animal Control Advisory Board says tightening the laws and the language on neglect would actually make things easier.
It'll be easier for officers and animal control to read statutes and say, yes, this does apply or this doesn't apply. Also for the community as well, because we get a lot of community members calling into animal control, reporting things, and aren't exactly sure whether or not this constitutes a crime or just a concern.
The Animal Control Advisory Board is expected to pass the proposals at a public meeting Thursday night. After that, they will go to the Anchorage Assembly, which will decide whether or not the proposed changes will become law. Lauren Maxwell, Alaska's news source.
A temporary statewide sales tax could be on the table in Juneau. Governor Mike Dunleavy says he plans to present a seasonal sales tax concept to lawmakers as they begin the new legislative session and face a major budget shortfall. The governor didn't say how much the tax would be, but he's expected to lay out more details during his State of the State address later tonight, which we will be sure to bring you coverage of. Will Courtney spoke with the governor in Juneau.
First one is the talk of town right now is that sales tax is going to be proposed tomorrow. Are you able to put those rumors to rest?
There will be a temporary seasonal sales tax concept put forth for discussion with the legislature.
And how optimistic are you that's going to get passed through the legislature?
That's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. I don't have the answer to that until we start having the discussions.
Remember to listen to Alaska's Political Pipeline for a deeper dive on updates from the governor and the continued legislative session. The latest episode is available now on our website, mobile app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Alaska has a new contender for Congress. Bill Hill, a commercial fisherman and former school superintendent, is running as an independent for the state's U.S. House seat. The Denina Athabascan educator says he wants to tackle rising costs and limit government overreach. Hill will face off against Republican incumbent Nick Begich III and Democrat Matt Schultz. Begich has yet to respond, but the Schultz team sent a statement reading in part, quote, "I welcome Bill Hill to the race and appreciate anyone who's willing to step up and engage in public service, but I believe we can't afford a protest candidate and we can't afford 2 more years of Nick Begich." Over $2,000 worth of collectible cards were stolen from an Anchorage man's car on Tuesday. Now his friends are raising money to help replace what he lost. Matthew Allen says his girlfriend's mom found the back window of his car smashed and a box containing a set of his Magic the Gathering cards missing. He first began collecting the cards in 2022 and frequently plays the game with his friends. Those same friends have started a GoFundMe to help Matthew replace the cards, which have already raised hundreds.
I was telling somebody, like, if my tear ducts didn't dry up already, I would be crying, you know. So, yeah, it's awesome. I'll definitely work on getting the stuff that was special to me first, and then work on maybe some new stuff. But you guys, my friends, if you see this, thank you a lot. I really appreciate it.
Magic the Gathering first launched in 1993, making it one of the oldest and most collectible trading card games in the world, with some cards selling for thousands, even $10,000s of dollars. Still ahead on the Morning Edition, the shifting and uncertain political landscape with questions about Greenland have raised questions here in Alaska about national and state security. We'll find out what that all means coming up next.
Still holding on to fairly dry conditions across most of the state. We will see some snow increasing by week's end along the slope. I'll have more on that. But first at sunrise, 9:42 in Anchorage, 8:21 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
Welcome back. 15 minutes past the hour on this Thursday morning. Still a pretty quiet week across the state weather-wise, Aaron.
You know, considering where we spent December and the first 2 weeks of January, I think this week is just a welcoming trend for everyone across the state. Yes, we are still holding on to some above average warmth across Alaska. We are going to be watching some snow moving into the slope here over the next couple of days, although mild weather will remain for many areas of the state. Some of the coldest conditions, though, will continue through the interior, where we continue to see those overnight lows dropping anywhere from about 0 to 10 below. So those sub-zero lows are slowly making a return to the state. Of course, here in South Central, we're seeing those overnight conditions dropping into the teens. Notice some of that freezing fog that settled in across the Anchorage Bowl. It's kind of been lifting and settling back in over the past couple of hours, so you will see some localized areas of freezing fog. That translucent cloud coverage you're seeing off in the distance, that is that freezing fog that we have this morning, and that is as of 6 a.m. with that time lapse. So we will see some localized areas of some visibility reduction. 15 in McGrath, 23 degrees in Utqiagvik, 29 in Nome. Notice many areas across western Alaska and along the slope warmer than what we're sitting at here in South Central. And then, of course, out towards Kodiak, those temperatures nosing their way near 40. And we're also still holding on to some localized areas of fog concerns out towards southeast. Both locations, South Central and southeast, will see at least some daily fog sticking around through at least tomorrow. Now, into the interior, you can see we started off the first 2 weeks of January with bitter cold conditions. You can see those highs for the first couple of days of the month. We're sitting, or lows, or highs, I should say, we're sitting right around 40 below. That gives you an idea of just how bitter cold the interior has been. But as we transitioned into the second half of the month, you can see those temperatures quickly warmed above 0, with the warmest day on January 16th as we broke right at that freezing mark. We are going to continue to hold on to quiet conditions for most of the state. Now, this active weather we're seeing out towards the Aleutians, it's going to ride right over that ridge that's with us across the state that's been with us for quite some time. sunshine. But you can see as that happens, we're going to see some snow building in across the slope through the night and into our Friday. And then that will drop south into the interior. So we will see some light snow showers pushing through Fairbanks and the eastern interior as we welcome in the weekend and early next week. Very light snow accumulation to be expected. Now, South Central will stay dry this weekend outside of Kodiak, but we will see some moisture lifting northward as we welcome in our Sunday. We may see some passing flurries Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will bring a chance for some snow accumulation in the forecast across South Central. Until then, though, we stay dry, near identical highs pretty much each and every day, mid to upper 20s, mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies staying with us, so still decent opportunity to get outdoors and soak up that sunshine and pleasant weather, considering where we spent most of the winter. But you can see staying dry through Sunday and then Sunday evening on into early next week. That's where we're going to begin to see that gradual increase in snow accumulation across South Central. So we'll be watching for that. Thankfully, we did recover our snowfall deficit, which was certainly sitting on the low side for quite some time through December and the first part of January. There's those highs, mid to upper 20s, snow increasing into next week. We also could be watching highs by the middle of next week touching near freezing.
During a speech at the World Economic Forum, President Donald Trump reinforced his demands for U.S. control of Greenland and announcing a possible framework for a deal, but he also ruled out the use of military force. Augusta McDonald talks with experts on what this means for Alaska and the future of U.S. Arctic security.
President Donald Trump says he has, quote, formed the framework of a future deal on Greenland after a meeting with NATO leadership.
It's the ultimate long-term deal, and I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and to minerals and everything else.
How long would the deal be, Mr. President?
Infinite.
As the posture of Alaska and Greenland rises, so too can the amount of defense spending that takes place within Alaska and Greenland itself.
Alaska security expert Cameron Carlson says the president's aggressive approach toward Greenland rattled international norms.
Greenland needs to be viewed as our ally, not as an asset.
Even as President Trump said in public statements that the island would be an important part of the Golden Dome, a $175 billion missile defense system sponsored by Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan.
What is the significance of that project for Alaska, and what does it signal about the importance of Arctic security heading into the next chapter of U.S. security interests?
You know, that's a great question. I think it kind of goes back to your previous question to a certain extent, and that is, you know, what could be a win for the Trump administration? And I think now that the paint has been scratched on that question in terms of again, looking at the Golden Dome and how it or how important it could be to Alaska, is that having infrastructure developed here, it would be a win for the Trump administration. It would likewise be a big win for us in a security context as well nationally.
Trump also said new tariffs are no longer needed on European nations that opposed his efforts in Greenland. Augusta McDonald, Alaska's news source.
You can catch the full conversation on our In-Depth Alaska podcast on our website or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.